Ladies and gentlemen, the game is afoot. Judiciary Chairman refers Swetnick and Avenatti to the Justice Department for criminal investigation. Now, look, you've got partisan battles that are getting heated. Kavanaugh was insane. The left saying he was this serial gang rapist. You had the right saying the allegations were unfounded. And I find myself somewhat in the middle. But as you know, if you're in the middle, you're actually on the right, because the left can't recognize when someone's actually just trying to listen and understand what's going on. When I heard the claims from Julie Swetnick, if you're not familiar, she alleged that Brett Kavanaugh was engaging in gang rapes, where he and others would drug women, wait outside of rooms in lines to take their turn on these women. And immediately, people started saying that Michael Avenatti's new client and Michael Avenatti himself were damaging the Democrats' chance to actually challenge Brett Kavanaugh. Because the first story was that Brett Kavanaugh, as a drunken teenager, groped a woman. Groped her, pinned her down, and she ran away. And that's plausible. If you've watched my channel, you heard me say it. I heard that story and I was like, well, that's interesting. A drunk teenager at a party. But then when you get to these ridiculous claims from Julie Swetnick, now here's the thing. Chuck Grassley is referring Swetnick and Avenatti to the Justice Department. All right, claiming that they made material false statements. We'll read the story in a second, and I got another source I want to pull up. The reason this is relevant is that, look, whether or not you can prove they lied is hard to do. I don't believe Avenatti is on the hook for this. He's just a lawyer. She told him stuff. He wrote it down. It was a sworn statement. I don't think that's his fault for what his client did, unless he did lie and you can prove it. In this interview, I'm going to play just the beginning. Chris Cuomo says Swetnick is walking back some of her claims.
I just mentioned the name Julie Swetnick. You've probably heard it before. That's the Judge Kavanaugh third accuser. Now, she's talking to the press again about her recollections of Kavanaugh when under the influence of alcohol years ago. But she is backing away, I would suggest, from some of her claims. Let's bring in Michael Avenatti, her attorney. Counsel.
You heard it from CNN. She is backing away from some of her claims, and that's a problem. Because she said in a sworn statement under penalty of felony, what she was saying was true. We have this other story from a while back from the Daily Wire. Kavanaugh accuser Swetnick walks back some of her explosive allegations. At the time, and it says NBC can't verify any of her claims. At the time, when we heard she was walking things back, a lot of people speculated, will she be held legally liable for this? Because if you put out a sworn statement under penalty of felony, and then later walk those claims back, you're essentially countering your own statements. Now, you could argue that her interview with NBC was the real lie. Walking back the claims was the lie. But either way, you're going to be up for an investigation. So here we go. CNN Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley on Thursday referred Julie Swetnick and her lawyer Michael Avenatti to the Department of Justice for a possible criminal investigation over allegations they made false statements to Congress about now Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. I am writing to refer Mr. Michael Avenatti and Ms. Julie Swetnick for investigation, Grassley wrote in a letter to Attorney General Jeff Sessions and FBI Director Christopher A. Wray for potential, quote, materially false statements they made to the committee during the course of the committee's investigation. In a statement, Grassley said, when a well-meaning citizen comes forward with information relevant to the committee's work, I take it seriously. It takes courage to come forward, especially with allegations of sexual misconduct or personal trauma. I'm grateful for those who find that courage. He continues, but in the heat of partisan moments, some do try to knowingly mislead the committee. That's unfair to my colleagues, the nominees, and others providing information who are seeking truth. Avenatti, a potential 2020 Democratic presidential candidate, told CNN that the referral is completely baseless and political. Now, I can't tell you whether or not it's political or baseless. I don't know. In my opinion, I kind of agree with Avenatti. And there's going to be a bunch of people on the right saying, how could you agree with that? Well, look, Avenatti's a lawyer. He's representing Swetnick. Swetnick is the one who actually made the statements. If there was any lies in her statement, that's on her. Unless they can prove Avenatti directed her or knew she was lying and then carried out the lie, which I doubt. He's a lawyer. There's going to be confidentiality. We'll see what happens. Political makes sense too. Avenatti, they call him a potential 2020 Democratic presidential candidate, but let's be real. Avenatti published a list of his policy positions where he stands. I think it's fair to say he's going to run in 2020. And we'll come back to this because I really want to talk about Avenatti, but Republicans underestimate Avenatti at your own peril. You might call him creepy porn lawyer, whatever you want to do. The dude's not someone who's going to back down, And when it comes to the Democrats, he's the only one with a spine, in my opinion. But let's finish the story before we get into all that stuff. I look forward for a thorough investigation into Judge Kavanaugh, Avenatti said. We have all waited long enough. Swetnick's statement, which was submitted to a committee last month, alleges that Kavanaugh and his friend Mark Judge were present at a party where Swetnick was drugged and gang raped. In the statement, Swetnick did not identify either man as her attacker in the incident. Both men categorically denied the allegations. Kavanaugh's attorney, Beth Wilkinson, told CNN's Wolf Blitzer when the allegations arose that her client never met Swetnick. He has never met this woman. He doesn't know Miss Swetnick. He didn't go to parties with her. Wilkinson said that she had received calls from women and men who went to high school with him, and they also didn't remember Swetnick. According to the declaration, Swetnick said that if she were ever called to testify about the statements in the declaration, she would do so. On September 29th, Grassley referred charges to the Department of Justice and the FBI regarding another person who contacted Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and his committee staff reporting an allegation of sexual misconduct by Kavanaugh. When we're dealing with someone coming onto the Supreme Court, and you've got this ridiculous partisan fight, it would be wise not to break the law. What's interesting with the Swetnick thing is that they said they didn't know her. Apparently, they're different age brackets. Swetnick's apparently a little bit older than Kavanaugh. How he would be at a party with her is kind of weird. The thing about Swetnick that was really strange is that I think she would have ended up being like 21 or 22 when Kavanaugh was like 17. I don't know the exact ages. But people brought up that her time frame for these parties where these things happened were strange, considering her age group. You know, admittedly, I don't know how things were back in the, early 80s. I've been to parties where there are people, you know, when I was like 19 or 20, I'd be at these college parties, and there'd be people who were 25, so it's entirely possible. But the story itself is rather ridiculous. Outside of all of that, whether or not this is going to result in an actual investigation is yet to be seen. What we have so far is a referral for investigation, and it's coming from Chuck Grassley, right? So it's coming from the right. This could just be political, who knows? This could be a preempt against Avenatti for 2020. But I really want to talk about Avenatti for 2020. So let's talk about this Michael Avenatti guy. Not a politician. They call him creepy porn lawyer. And I think that's probably, look, it is really smart to try and smear Avenatti as much as possible, as early as possible. Because this is a guy who has a spine. All right? I was at Politicon, and people would confront him, they would yell at him, and he wouldn't back down. He'd stand there, and he'd talk right back. He'd lean right in. He gave a presentation, and he said that it's time for Democrats to be strong on borders. He even tweeted about it. So there's a lot of people on the right who don't like the guy. Sure, you don't have to like the guy. You can call him creepy porn lawyer all day and night. But let me just say, underestimate him at your peril. How does Trump win debates? Does Trump win debates solely based on his ideas? Absolutely not. Okay? Trump wins debates because he's stronger than other people. You see those videos where he goes in for a handshake and he grabs him and pulls him in? That is a show of force. Republicans tend to like this. You don't have to like Trump. You don't have to think he's a good person to realize that he can command over people. And when you want a leader for your country, a lot of people on the right say, hey, look, Trump may be a bully, he may be mean, but that proves he's going to get what we need for our country. Liberals don't seem to understand this. They look at Trump and they see a mean guy who mocks people, who insults people, little Marco, disgusting Kasich, Pocahontas, and they're like, why would we want someone so mean to be our leader? He's not, inspiring, feelings of empathy and charisma. Because the people in the middle, when they feel scared, they vote right. When they feel safe, they vote left. People on the left tend to just stick to their guns. People on the right stick to their guns. And it's all about swaying the middle ground. And you have American working class who are scared of losing their jobs. They're scared of economic displacement due to migration. And Trump spoke to them about this. More importantly, though, when it comes to issues of security and safety, they see Trump walk up to somebody, grab his hand, and pull him right in, and that proves he's a strong guy. Now, there's a reason I bring this up. Michael Avenatti is not one of these spineless little weaklings that we see in the Democratic Party. Look, I'm not trying to be overly, I'm not trying to disparage the Democrats that much, but come on, seriously, name a charismatic and strong Democrat. I went to Politicon and asked people, come on, name somebody strong on the Democratic side. They couldn't do it. Even the people on the left, they were like, yeah, I don't know. Cory Booker maybe, but Cory Booker looks silly when he comes up and calls himself Spartacus. He doesn't have the same strength as Trump. You can hate Trump all day and night, but it is a fact. When Trump debates you, he interrupts you, and he insults you. And that shows people that he's a strong man who won't be bullied and won't back down. What do you think that translates to in international negotiations? It translates into a guy arguing with some other country, interrupting them and refusing to back down, so he's going to get a better deal. People like that. They see that. It's not always about whether or not he makes you feel good. Michael Avenatti has a little bit of that. You might think he's creepy, you might think he's a weird, you might not like him, but the dude has a backbone. And that's why I think the Republicans, you better not underestimate this guy. Personally, I don't think Avenatti could beat Trump. But I look at Elizabeth Warren. Could Elizabeth Warren go up against Trump? No way. Trump, he calls her Pocahontas. What does she do? She runs off to try and prove that she's not Pocahontas and just makes the story bigger. Does Trump really care about her Native American heritage? No. He's just trying to disparage her. It's like, I tell people, imagine this. You got some jockey dudes in the hallway, and they point to a kid, and they call him, dumb nerd. They call him a stupid nerd. And they make fun of him, and the kid's like, oh, I'm not a nerd, I'll prove it. And then like a week later, he runs back to the school showing off his football collection. He's like, see, I'm not a nerd, I have footballs. And everyone's like, dude, did you just go buy a bunch of footballs to prove you're not a nerd? That's like the weirdest thing ever. No one cared in the first place. They're just making fun of you. That's what Elizabeth Warren didn't get. Trump's making fun of her, so she runs off and gets a DNA test and produces a mini doc about her family, and everyone's like, oh my god, dude. Did you just go pay for a DNA test, bring in like some famous geneticist, and film a miniature documentary with your family because Trump called you a name? That is not strength. It's proving that they just do what Trump wants. And this is the last thing I'll say before we get out of here. Whether or not we see a criminal investigation, look, I'm leaning towards probably not going to happen. We'll see. But Avenatti isn't someone who's so dumb he's going to fall into that trap. We'll see. I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm not saying he's great. I'm just saying when it comes to going up against Trump, you need somebody with a spine because Trump can easily command over people. He's imposing. He's loud. He will insult you. He will interrupt you. And that's good for a lot of reasons when it comes to a leader. Personally, look, you got to understand a liberal point of view. It's off-putting, straight up. People see that and they're like, I just don't like that guy. He's a dick, right? But there are a lot of people who understand it doesn't matter if he's nice or not. It matters if he's going to get the job done. Avenatti might not be strong enough to go up against Trump, but he's certainly the strongest thing the Democrats have, in my opinion. So, and also, keep in mind, Avenatti is calling for tough border security. He's being a moderate Democrat, right? He's trying to pull them back from the fringes. I think Avenatti gets it. I think he understands. Will he win? I don't think so. But I think you better not underestimate this guy. Otherwise, if you think you can rest on your laurels and you're going to be able to just walk past someone like Avenatti, you're wrong. You are. And heed my warning. Seriously. There's going to be a lot of people, I bet they're going to be laughing in the comments saying, creepy porn lawyer doesn't stand a chance, he'll never win. Oh, okay. Never underestimate your opponents, period. Don't underestimate Elizabeth Warren either, right? As much as I think we can look at Warren and be like, she'll never beat Trump, don't underestimate your opponents, right? Personally, I think Avenatti might actually have something. I do. Because he has a spine, plain and simple. But let me know what you think. Comment below. I'm not saying this as a defense of Trump or anything like that. I'm just trying to, better understand people. And a lot of people on the left don't understand that when I actually try to convey an idea I learned from conservatives about why they might like someone like Trump, they assume I'm actually defending the guy. No. Let me say this. I think Trump's a mean person. I think he's a bully. I think he does often lie. He talked about Middle Easterners in the caravan crowd. Even Fox News said it's not true, okay? If Fox News is going to come out and be like, no, we have no evidence to back that up, well, then you got to admit it. Okay, I'll put it this way. Trump was wrong. I don't know if he's intentionally trying to mislead people, but I know he's wrong. The point is, you don't have to like the guy to recognize what other people do. And he doesn't have to be a good person to recognize why someone might want to elect him president. The same thing can be said for Avenatti. Stick around. I got more videos coming up in just a few minutes. The next video, Megyn Kelly. I think she just lost her job because apparently she's racist. So, yeah. See you in a few minutes.